Please welcome Billy Ekofo.
Good morning. Good morning. Good. Let's do it again. Good morning. Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to dive right into it. One of the things that I find interesting, right, it's the way we greet each other, depending on where we're from and depending on which language we speak, right? So for instance, if you speak Hebrew, you say shalom, which means peace. And depending on where you're from in India, you'll be said to, or you'll be saying namaste, which is an acknowledgement of the greatness in someone else. And you, me, the greeter, are in full reverence of it. So namaste to you. You're supposed to say namaste too. There we go. All right, but for the Luba people in the Congo, or Democratic Republic of the Congo, we simply just say moyo, which means life. The common denominator between saying shalom, peace, namaste, I acknowledge the greatest in you, or moyo, life, is that whoever's doing the greeting has to acknowledge that there's something more to the one he or she is speaking to. I believe it's the same thing with helping people. So put it differently, whoever's doing the helping has to acknowledge that there's something more to the one he or she is lending a hand to. And so this morning, I wanted to share with you how this has been true to my life and essentially shaped the person I am today, both personally and professionally. In case you can't tell, I have a bit of an accent. And there's a logical explanation to it. See, I was born from Congolese parents in the United States, which made me a citizen by birth, by Congolese, by everything else. And the Congo, to me, is an interesting country because there is a duality in the place that I think, it will become obvious in a minute. So on one hand, you think of the Congo as beautiful and exotic, which it is. The biodiversity in the Congo is second to none. It's also a country that's filled with minerals, which it is. We have gold, diamond, cobalt. And generally speaking, when you think of the Congo and its people, they're generally happy. And if you know me, I'm generally a happy person, which is true. But there's also a side of the Congo that I think many of you know already, and it's one that's been plagued by about 32 years of a brutal dictatorship, and in recent history, in the 90s, by one of the bloodiest war in recent history. And this is essentially the Congo that I know. It's one that is harsh and devastated. It's one that's refugee-plagued, and it's one that's torn. So it's not so much against the happy, beautiful, and joyful Congo, but against the harsh, devastated, and torn Congo that my story takes place. And so the year is 1998, and we are essentially at the height of what becomes the Congo conflict. I'm 17 years old. I'm living with my parents in the capital, Kinshasa. Two members of the American embassy came to our home. They spoke to my parents, and they left. My parents called us in their bedroom. We sat around their beds, and they said, Billy, you're being evacuated. Now remember, I was born in the US, which made me a citizen, so that me and other citizens had to be evacuated. So they said, you had to be evacuated. But my dad said, here's what I want you to do. Once you reach the US, I want you to contact Papa Czech, Mr. Czech to you. He's a family friend that emigrated to the US several years before and lived in Newport News, Virginia. So you reach the United States, I want you to get in contact with him and tell him exactly what's going on and tell him that I'm sending you to live with him. And so the next day I got up, said goodbye to my family. Dad and I drove to the American embassy or consulate in Kinshasa. And there were a lot of people. When you're being evacuated, it's a big traumatic. And I was so mesmerized by all the commotion that I didn't realize that my father was no longer by my side. He didn't have an American passport, so he couldn't go through certain gates. And I don't recall the emotion. I just recall waving to him nervously, and he waved back. The gate closed, and that was the last time I saw my dad. And so we got in cars at some point. We drove to the airport. We hopped on white Suburbans, so living in the convoy in the capital. And there were people on the street shouting, "Go home," which was interesting to me because home was where I was. That night, we flew to Cameroon, where we stayed there for several days until we got word that the next tranche of our journey was about to take place. So we were supposed to catch a flight from Europe to the US. So we got to Brussels several days later, and we were told that our flight was in Paris, so we flew to Paris. And then in Paris, all of our groups of people that were being evacuated from Kinshasa were sort of scattered because they were going in different places in the US. And I was the only one that was going to Richmond, Virginia, because that's where I was supposed to meet my family friend. I was routed to New York, right? And so I landed in New York late August, 17 years old. And that's when I realized I was truly by myself. And everything I hated about the Congo, the harsh life, the war, or the impending war, I should say, and everything I loved about it, my family, friends, at that very moment, I was missing all of it, but I couldn't get it back. And so between the tears and the exhaustion, and trying to figure this thing out, I got up the next day. I couldn't speak English, so I had to find my way through the airport, essentially, pointing to the ticket, and airport officials were guiding me, and miraculously, I ended up at the right gate. Flew into Richmond, and then I remember what my dad said. It's like, "I want you to call Papa Check." And so whatever change I had left in my pocket, saw a payphone, I just shoved all of them in there. Dialed the number exactly the way it was written. It was a business card. I didn't know what to do. I just dialed the number. If this is not clear to you, this was my lifeline in the US. If I missed that call, well, I'm going to pause there for a second and ask you a question. Let's say that instead of calling Papa Check, Mr. Check, I was calling your business. I was calling you that same afternoon. Would I have been a lead or a person to you? And let's make the assumption that I was, in fact, a lead. Would I have been worth your time? And so that there's just no mistaking, let me just tell you the type of lead I was. I would have been calling you from a payphone, so that number was no good, right? I couldn't speak English, so unless you spoke French, or Lingala, which is another dialect of the Congo, or maybe a little bit of Chiluba, you and I couldn't have a conversation. I had no money, I was broke, no email. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, whatever. Basically, I had nothing. And I was nothing. But I am so thankful that finally someone picked up the call. And whoever picked up the call didn't see me as a lead, but saw me as a person. And so me, who had absolutely nothing, became a person. And not just any person. I became a person worth hearing. Because as I was babbling in French on the phone, whoever took the call was able to discern a couple words, maybe two, Papa, check. And was aware enough, actually, to go grab him and put him on the phone as I was still rambling. And I heard his voice, and he said, "Hi, this is Papa Check." And I said, "Papa Check, this is Billy Ekofo. Just landed in Richmond, Virginia. That's what's going on back home. Dad said I should reach out to you. Could you please come and pick me up from the airport?" And without hesitation, Papa Check said yes. And so instead of sleeping on a steel bench at JFK for my first night in the US, I actually slept on the bed my second night. And then I became a person worth adopting. Because truth be told, Papa Check was not ready, right, to have another kid live with him. Like, he had no idea that I was even coming. But he made arrangements for me to live with an American family. And so several days after getting to the US, I moved in with an American Caucasian family, single mom of 3, and 7 cats. True story. And Billy Ekofo, 17-year-old, tall, skinny guy from the Congo. And that was my family. But even in the midst of that, Becky Kaiser, the lady that I ended up living with, didn't see me as just a random person. She saw me as a son. And I called her mom, and she called me Billy. And then I became a person worth loving. And so between my arrival and staying with the Kaisers and graduating college, I had a bit of an identity crisis. You see, the people I thought would welcome me, folks that actually looked like me, I thought they would be welcoming under the fact that I was from the Congo. Well, they ended up making fun of my accent, making fun of the way I dressed. I wasn't hip enough, I guess. Was not wearing the baggy jeans or whatever. And the people that looked completely different than me, the others, ended up welcoming me and wanting to know more about where I came from, what was the situation. And so I was very confused, and I felt like I was a stranger in paradise, quite literally. Until this one girl came along. She's about yay high, olive skin, dark hair. She could care less about the way I sounded like, the way I looked like, the way I talked. She just wanted to be my friend. And she became more than that. She became my wife. And her support is second to none. Because she's been through, even after a failed career in media, in education, going to business school, graduating, not finding work, short selling at home because of the massive debt, right? She still pushed me to be the best that I could be. Which strangely leads me to real estate. This is a real estate conference. And so in the winter of 2013, while still living with my in-laws at that point, and job searching, my father-in-law made the most outrageous proposition to me. He said, "Billy, you should consider real estate." And I said, no, because I didn't go to business school, right, to earn a master's degree to work on commission. At least that's what I thought, right? I mean, who does that? Apparently yours truly was supposed to. I did not went to all of that just to earn a living on commission. At least that's what I thought of real estate. He offered to pay for my pre-licensing course. And so in the winter of 2013, I got my real estate license. In January 2014, I joined Century 21 and Redwood Realty as a full-time agent. Now, go Redwood. They did not have the training program that they have for new agents like we do. We did not have that training like we do today. So they had to be very conscientious of the type of people they brought in on board. And for some odd reason, they thought I would be worth teaching the craft of real estate to. And so out of my reluctance to join the industry came my first transaction. And then everything I wanted to do in a career came in real estate. I want a career that mattered. Well, real estate gives you that. And so the question is, again, to you, as you open your computer, your CRM, Excel sheet for some people, all the contacts you have in there, are those people leads or are they actually people? Is the person sitting next to you just a lead or an actual person? See, I believe when you see a person, you see that which is possible. And when you see the possible, you see life itself. Let me say it differently. You see life. You see Moyo. And your ability to see the possible in someone else gives you the power to speak the possible. Let me say that again. You can speak the possible when you have the ability to see what's possible in someone else, and you can bring it out of existence. You can make it happen. And if you came in this morning and you're wondering what this industry is about, well, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we do. Real estate people speak the possible into existence. Real estate people speak the possible into existence. If you were to ask me what I see in this room from this vantage point, I will say to you that I don't see any leads. I see people. And because I see people, I see the potential in each and every one of you to be a force for good, whether it's in your community or in your business. Cutting straight to the chase, I see endless possibilities. And so in the same manner that you have spoken my dreams and aspiration into existence, saying thank you to you will be just, it will simply not do. I'd rather say this word because it means so much more. And so then the question become, what would the world be like? Scratch that. What would our industry be like if we peacefully acknowledged the greatness in each other? Thank you.
Billy, you are a gift to the industry. When I first saw you and I saw your face and your smile, I want to thank you for what you do for the industry. It's amazing. Billy had a service project. I don't know if you heard, for 2 days at Glide. You are an amazing human being. How much do you miss your family, Billy?
Well, I haven't seen them in a while. Actually, we haven't been in the same, I guess, place in quite a bit.
Well, guess what?
You know about this?
Should I say something? Just as a father, I'm very proud of you. Thank you.
A little background, Billy. You have many people that love you, and I think the man that thought this up is another gift to the industry, Peter Brewer. And the person that stepped up to make all this happen, visas, all the other things involved, was Eddie at Redwood Realty, who is another gift to the industry. So I want you now, I mean, we could probably dance up here if you want. I want you to go back and enjoy your family. And
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all so much for coming.